Welcome to the West of North London podcast, where we sit down each and every week to answer your big Arsenal questions. I'm Caleb.
And I'm Tim.
And it's another fantastically busy week.
So much going on in the Arsenal world.
So many things. Actually, no, I think we're struggling to figure out what to talk about this week, because I think for us, it's hard to talk about a bunch of rumors, which is pretty much all that's going around right now.
Yeah, I'm not a big rumor person myself, but somehow I think we'll figure out a way to fill the time.
We always do. We find a way. Let's kick things off with drinks in hand. What do you got? Surprise me.
It is a new beer to me. It is San Juan Brewing IPA, which I'd never heard of. I saw it at the store and picked it up. It tastes like an IPA. I don't.
All right, they nailed it.
Yeah, I know exactly. It's the hops. They have like a whole list of all the things, and the hops are Simcoe, Amarillo, and Centennial. It's fine. It's good. It's exactly what I want in an IPA. It's not a hazy. It's not any of those new fancy ones. It's a very typical Northwest IPA, which is my favorite. Would buy again. Would recommend, but I don't. It's not like it's the most amazing thing I've ever put in my mouth. You know.
Okay. So straight down the middle of the road for that one.
Yeah, exactly.
I have reached into the Narnia that is my beer fridge. Found another one in the back. That is the Sierra Nevada Bigfoot Barley Wine Style Ale 25th Anniversary Edition from back in 2008.
Woo, we've got an aged barley wine.
Getting crazy here.
How was the cap when it came off? Did it have any rust on the top, or did it look pretty good?
It was good. It was solid. It had been taken care of.
What's the ABV on that bad boy? 9%?
I'm scared to look. 9.6%. So, and I think with the aging process, that goes up a percentage or so.
Yeah, it depends on how much residual sugar is left, or if there's any evaporation.
Right. I would say I'd put it probably at 10 at least. I would guess.
Quite possibly. How is it? Does it have like a nice little syrupy like mouthfeel to it?
We're gonna see a live reaction, because the last time I drank a barley wine, my face told the tale. That's not bad.
Oh, good.
That's not bad.
What has it got? What's its flavor like?
I always think of barley wines. It's already hitting me. Barley wines is tasting kind of like somebody soaked raisins in water. Mm-hmm. That's what I compare barley wines to.
I totally can get that.
So it tastes like that to me. My cultured palate. Yeah, it's not super alcohol. I mean, I think the last barley wine I had, it was smacking me in the face as soon as I would take a drink. But definitely alcoholic, but not so overpowering. Like, it's still fairly smooth. So
that's what actually aging does, is it actually kind of knocks off, like, because we all think of alcohol as this one type of one chemical, but there's actually several different type of alcohols in alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
And so aging actually means that some of the harsher alcohols kind of evaporate or disappear or change chemically. So that's, one of the advantages of aging both beer and wine, is that some of those lesser desired flavors and alcohols disappear.
Right. I think after my excursions into barley wine territory, which I hadn't really been familiar with. I mean, I'd had some, but never really put much focus on it or tried too many. I think I could put it into my rotation as like a good. It's definitely not like something I'd reach for in the summer necessarily, but it is a solid winter style ale. I think I'm gonna add those to my winter rotation a little bit more, because there's been some good ones. It makes me think I need to explore a bit more.
Yeah, like I actually like barley. It's one of my favorite things to do is that crack open a bottle and share it with someone. So it's like the first beer you have when someone's hanging out
Mm.
before you switch to more sessionable things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always a nice, good shareable beer.
Yeah, totally. I could see that. Well, yeah, I would give a thumbs up if you can get a hold of a 2008 Bigfoot barley wine. Give it a try, but yeah, the aged ones are definitely nice. So if you can find aged barley wine, even better.
Yeah. Or even age them yourself. I have a couple in the cellar that I've been holding on for when we get back to normal land.
I I think I'd have a hard time holding on to it for this long. 2008 is quite the stretch. Um, and I'm not even sure what the recommended aging time period is. 2008 seems like a long time ago.
Well, I mean, with it, it's a good question. You know, like with IPAs, you're supposed to drink right away. Like the longer they're in, the more the hops disappear. So like aging IPA is not a bad thing. But I mean, really, if it's a commercially brewed beer and the cap's still intact, there's no real limit to it, as far as I know,
Uh-huh.
as far as what's safe. What's good, they always say that, like, you know, more than a couple years, it probably doesn't make the biggest of differences. But
Yeah, I cannot compare to a 2000. Well, I would have had to have drank this in 2010. So even that was a long time ago. Um, but yeah, it doesn't taste bad. So I'd say
yeah,
no harm, no foul here.
exactly.
All right, let's get down to Timbits.
So I actually changed my question late on. I had an earlier question, then I kind of wiped out based on the whole Concacaf Champions or Nations League final, which was a fun. Did you watch that game?
I did not. I was
It was
coming back from camping, so I didn't get to.
yeah. It was more exciting than I was thought it was going to be. Two VAR penalties in the extra time, all sorts of shenanigans with fans and things. So yeah, it was a fun game. But I don't know. I was watching a sports documentary before coming on, and it was all about rugby, and it got me thinking. I was going to ask it about rugby, but I have a feeling you don't know all that much about rugby. I don't
No,
remember.
not really. It's a
So
sport I'd be interested in learning more about, but I've never delved into that. Same with cricket. Like I want somebody to explain these sports to me and kind of guide me through it because I it's not something I'm like just absorbing by watching those sports.
I get so addicted to sports documentaries, it's not funny. And so I've watched there's a great one on Netflix. Is it Netflix? I think it's Netflix, on the 2020 cricket Premier League in India,
Mm.
which if you get a chance, I think it's called 2020. I don't know exactly what it's called, but I got really big into it. Even got a team, Hyderabad, for anyone watching, listening, who knows 2020 cricket. But yeah, but I figured talking about rugby might be a little bit much for you, so I switched it to American football. And my question is, what would be your top three players, like if you could draft out of the Arsenal team to make a American football team? Who would you draft out of Arsenal to play American football?
Okay, all right. I think you gotta bring in Leno. You gotta have a leg, right? So
Yeah,
so there's number one. Number two, Kolasinac is still on the team, and I think you need to have some muscle. So he's got the size to make the transition to American football. Um, Number three, I think you have to have a winning mentality. Who has the winningest mentality on the team? That's I. You know what? Just for the giggles, just for shits and giggles, I would put David Luiz.
I knew you would. Yes.
Why not? Can you imagine
Oh,
him on a foot?
what position would you put him as?
Oh my goodness. Um, ugh. Where I think I would throw him. I would throw him as a cornerback. I'd put him on defense. He's got the length that like he could go up for jump balls and be a good defender. Um, and you could get in your head. I think he would do some good trash talking. Um, yeah, I think those are my three. I think it'd be
Yeah.
hilarious to watch all three of them give it a try.
Well, I think with Leno, you could have a leg, but I also think he could make a run at being quarterback. He has like
Hmm.
pretty good distribution for a keeper, and like I could see him kind of playing double duty as kicker and quarterback.
Yeah, I would go with wherever he was stronger there, but yeah, he could give a try on both of those. I could see that.
And this being said, I would like to say I know very little to nothing about American football, so if my choices are wrong, I think another person who is your player of the Arsenal player of the year, Pepe. I think he could be a good wide receiver because he's really really fast.
Mm, yeah,
I
but
don't know
does
if
he
he would
have the
have the
hands?
hands.
Yeah, that's the question. You could be speedy, but you got to be able to catch and do it under pressure. It's not just to be able to catch the
Really under
ball.
pressure.
You have to do it against another person at all times, maybe two or three.
Yeah, but I mean, he is good at taking on. That's where he's at his best, right? Is taking on players. So
Yeah, true. I think once he got the ball, he'd be hard to catch and he would put some moves on some players. So I would like to see that.
yeah, maybe just have him do that like one play where the wide receiver gets a direct handoff. So Leno is handing it off to Pepe.
There we go. I want to see this now. This sounds great. Sounds interesting.
I'm sure there's a way to simulate it, and I bet you could make these players on the NFL video game.
Yes, if you're a video game creator listening to this and want to make a really a really dumb video game just for fun, you know, football does football. I think that there's a game there.
Yeah, I mean, well, because I know in FIFA you can like make your own players and like
Hmm.
kind of modify them. So I imagine you can do it on the NFL on the EA, whatever they call it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure somebody could go crazy and get the look down for all those players, but I don't. I do want to see the real thing. I gotta see
I
how
think
these guys would hold up.
I think it'd be funny because I think you'd have to put 0 on hands or like catching skills on pretty much all of them, but the
Right.
keepers.
Yeah, I think that the dexterity goes way down with the
Yeah,
hands. They might even be not, purposely not catching balls. Just
yeah,
it's trained into them to not put the hands up. They're gonna
it'd be
be
hard to.
jumping for the ball with their hands behind their back.
The cornerbacks are all trying to hit the ball away.
Oh, I'd love to see that.
Yeah. Well,
It
one
sounds
day
like a
maybe we'll.
Nike commercial or something, just kind of a wacky take.
Yeah,
All right. Well, let's move on from those shenanigans. Um, there's hasn't been a ton going on with Arsenal. It's pretty quiet as far as official business goes. The transfer window is just about to open. I think is that tomorrow?
I think
Is
it's
it the ninth
tomorrow,
or the 10th?
Wednesday. The this
This
week we'll
week,
say.
yes. So it opens up this week. Um, and already it sounds, I think one of the names Arsenal was linked with, Anu Buendia, is sounding like he's going to Villa instead. Um, so one down, many more options to go, I guess. Um,
Yeah,
but I think it's a matter of um, trying to figure out what Arsenal really need right now. So in your mind, and I kind of want to go through the whole lineup and figure out who's expendable as far as who we have. But in your mind, what kind of positions do we need to go out and fill?
I mean, I think it's going to be a little dependent on who goes as well. There's always that
Mm-hmm.
and I think really it's not like any position is stocked and doesn't need improvement, and getting a new player would actually improve the team in pretty much everywhere but keeper. I'm pretty okay with our keeper. I think Leno is about the best we can get at our level where we
You
are.
know, that's one of the positions that we're rumored to be looking at, which is, you know, it's so perfectly Arsenal. It's like the ones you think are going to be set in stone or nothing to worry about. Something is bound to come up that either the team thinks they can do better or the player thinks they can do better.
Yeah, I mean, I know there was a little bit of a rumor of him possibly leaving in the offseason, but from what I understand, that like got quashed. And again, I don't really give a lot of credence to rumors until they're fairly hot and fairly official. Uh,
Right.
but yeah, like I said, like I'm not hot and bothered about trying to get a new keeper right now. But anywhere else, we need something. I think if I were to have to pick one position, I think creative midfielder, that position that was vacated by Ozil and Odegaard showed how much we missed it. I think that would be the place I would, if I had to put all my money into one place, that would be the place I'd put it in.
Assuming he was made available by Real Madrid, is that your number one, or do you think they could do better looking elsewhere?
I mean, I'm sure they could. There are better players. I mean, it really depends on money. It's a money value
Mm-hmm.
equation, and it depends on how much. I definitely don't have my heart set on him coming, especially now that Zidane's gone from Madrid,
Right.
and they look like they're really going to try and invest, or not invest, but like put youth first. And so I think he's going to have a spot on that Madrid team. So I'm not holding my breath for that. But hypothetically, yeah, I would take him for the right price. Also because he's had half a season at Arsenal to kind of adjust and to get used to it, which is always nice. As we've seen with Pepe, sometimes it takes a while for a player to kind of bed in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think even after another 6 months or so, we could see another level from Odegaard. But it's nice to get a good sense of what a player can do in the team. You're not starting from scratch. It's I think there's a lot of value in that, and I think it would be worth a little extra money if he was available. I think that makes it more palatable to spend a little extra. I mean, I think the if Buendia was on the radar, he was in the 30 to 40 million range, and I think not having it's not like Odegaard's guaranteed to go kick on and have like a huge career with Arsenal necessarily, but at least you know what the floor is. So that's a good place to start and make spending 10 million more palatable when you have that little bit of assurance that you wouldn't have with other players.
Yeah, and I think with him, one of his problems is he's just never really had a consistent run at a team. He's been loaned out, hasn't gotten minutes on a lot of teams, and so. And I think having a little bit of stability would be good for his career. But as I said, I'm definitely not holding my breath. It's all the vibes I'm getting from all the experts I listen to are saying that he's going to be at Madrid and not really going to transfer back.
Yeah, I'd be quite surprised if that's what comes to pass. I think I guess I'd be less surprised if he was loaned again. Um, I could see that as a possibility over a sale.
I mean, the only thing is Madrid is desperate for money right now, which is why they're investing in youth. The way I don't think they're going to go make a huge bunch of signings, which does mean if the price is right, they will sell them. But I think their need for young players under contract is higher than their need for £40 billion or whatever we'd get for them
Yeah,
or
I
give
think
for
it
them.
just comes down to whether he's actually going to be a first team player or if he's going to be stuck behind a player or two. If that's the case, I think he would push for a loan, and if they're strapped for cash, then us taking on his salary at least for another season um, might be beneficial for both. And I don't know what the market looks like for that position necessarily for us. If the right player isn't out there, I imagine we're going to be well. Either way, I kind of think the loan is going to be there's going to be a loan or two on this team just to make the money work because I can't imagine we can fill every single position of need with the amount of money that we're gonna be able to generate from sales. And I just can't guarantee. There's no guarantee that the Cronkies will actually invest, even though they said they will. I mean, what does that actually mean? If if the bar was set with Party, they were involved to some degree with that signing and investment there. Um, I don't know. I guess I get would expect maybe that to be the minimum. Um, but I can't see them going crazy above that as far as player investments. I think it's going to be um, mostly generated from sales and that sort of thing. So all that said, yeah, I would not be set. I wouldn't be surprised if we tried to bring in a couple loan players. But clearly the number 10 position is something that should be invested in, and they should try to get right. Whether that happens now or later, we'll have to wait and see, I guess.
Yeah, is that where's your priority? Where would you put most of your war chest in if you only had one or maybe two positions?
I do kind of feel like we have, you know, it's hard because I don't think Emil Smith Rowe is that guy. I don't think he's a number 10 in the creative sense. I think he could fill in that slot. I think he could play in that central midfield role and do fine. But we saw it this season with him playing at the same time as Odegaard. They play that position very differently. So I don't think he's a long term solution there. Um, but yeah, we just gotta get that one right because it is an important piece. Um, I don't want to go spend a bunch of money on the wrong player is what I'm trying to get at. Uh, but I think like if you could get by with Saka and Emil Smith Rowe and Pepe in that band of three, and you couldn't find that right guy to fill the number 10, I think the next position that I would be looking to fill is that Xhaka replacement, because from everything we're hearing right now, um, at least one of the most persistent rumors in the preseason right now is Xhaka going to Roma. Um, and I think it's just a matter of finding the right amount of money, which could be anywhere from 15 to 20 million from what everybody is saying. Uh, so I think finding the right player to slot in next to Party, I think, is probably the next biggest hole that needs to be filled in this team. And I think just having somebody to back up Xhaka, even if he stayed, would be an important piece as well.
Yeah, just like it's weird when we start talking. I know we're going to go through the team and talk about who's going out, but it's hard to think about getting a replacement for Xhaka for the amount of money we're talking about, 15 to 20. Like, are we going to get anyone that much better for that amount of money? You
No,
know?
I think I think we'll sell Xhaka for that much, but or somewhere in that range. But I think that's going to take an additional investment um, to improve on him, unless you're looking at like um, one of the players that's been tossed around right now is Neves from the Wolves.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, he he would cost a little bit more. I think they're looking for about 40 million, but I think that's the range. You're probably looking at 30 to 40 million for that number 10 and that number 6 role. I think that's a reasonable investment in that's those sorts of important players for the team. Um, it kind of depends on whether you're. It's always the age profile versus experience. Like I think Neves makes some sense as far as he's I think 5 years younger than Xhaka. So continuing to build around youth makes sense to me. But I also feel like you either need somebody with big potential like Odegaard, or you know it doesn't matter if you buy young if there's like they just suck and never aren't worth the resale value anyway. Like it's great to have to buy young and then develop players, and you hope that's the way that Arsenal kind of starts moving in that they can kind of self fund through player development, um, not just through the academy, but through bringing in younger players and having them develop in the first team as well. So I think a player that's 24 makes a lot of sense, but you want to also build around players that bring experience and have skill and aren't like one for the future. You kind of need to have that mix of players that are good for now and ones that will develop, because you can't just have, I think Arteta's alluded to, you can't just have a team of youth players, because all that potential is not going to come to fruition all at once. That takes years to build out. And so you kind of have to have a good mix of experience and potential there.
Yeah, and I think a lot of teams go try and go down that road of just being a developing youth, and the danger with it is that it only works very rarely. For every Saka you have a ton of like chamuks or like players that just don't work out,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a very risky strategy. And like when you look at it, who's winning the Champions League, who's winning these the leagues? It's not teams that are developing youth players to sell on. So it is a hit to your ambition if you become a youth develop like use youth development as your sole strategy.
Yeah, when you look at the top teams, it's definitely they're loaded with talent. It's not a lot of potential talent. It's sprinkled with potential talent, and that it really does help those players grow to be around really talented teammates. So uh, we can't deny the effect that David Luiz had in the taking the younger players under his wing and being a leader. I do think you need one or two of those guys in the squad to kind of help round out that development process, because it can't all come from Arteta. It's got a lot of that refinement comes from your peers and comes from players that have done it and are doing it with you. So it's not just a coaching staff thing. Um, we do I do think like having a good mix of experience and youthful exuberance is important. Like we need. I'd love to put a lot of focus on youth and make that kind of a priority as far as kind of creating a machine that turns out really good players and ones that can help us along the way. But I do think it can't be all that. It's gotta be a good chemistry, which is not something you can easily buy. I think that's another reason um, Odegaard would be a great signing, is because that chemistry takes time to develop. When you've got 6 months with the players that you're going to play with, you can hit the ground running. So there's absolutely some value in that, and it's a challenge when you're looking at these rebuilds, which is essentially what Arsenal is at. I mean, it's been perpetually rebuilding. It's just it comes in fits and spurts, just based on the players that we can offload. I mean, we've had to take losses, so it takes time when you don't have the money to do it all at once. And the way the market's been, it has not been easy to do that as well. But um, you need to. Uh, I totally just lost my train of thought. Damn you, barley wine.
You were talking about rebuilds, but
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it just takes a lot of time, and a lot of it is trial and error when it comes to chemistry, because
mhm.
you're going to have to uh, you have to find the guys that a want to fight for the badge and want to stick around and will show up for you, but also guys that work well together with the players that you've already invested in. So that always doesn't always just click, and may not ever click with some players. And so that those trial and error sort of things, like when you're going through big rebuilds, it's that can be one of the most frustrating aspects, because that's hard to determine from a scouting report.
Yeah, and with another position, what do you think we're doing with our forwards? What's going on with our forwards? What do we do? What do we need? Do we need to bring in another forward?
I think the piece of that I'm most curious about right now is um, where Lacazette's going to be. Um, he's got a year left on his contract. He has had a decent couple seasons. I mean, he was top goal scorer this year, and it's was it not last year, but the season before he was MVP. So he's had a couple good seasons with Arsenal, but it if they had somebody who came in and was interested in taking him off our hands, I think they would gladly sell him. If not, I think it comes down to whether they feel Martinelli and Balogun are good enough to fill in that role alongside Aubameyang. So then at that point, do you just let him run out his contract? I mean, if nobody comes in for him, I don't know what else you do, because they're not. I don't see any reason to sign him out to an extension at this point.
Yeah, I mean, my only worry is that if we just let him run out his contract, it's just one other player that we've let run out his contract, and you're leaving value on the table for
Well,
that. And
it's
and
only
we have a
value
history of
if somebody actually wants him. I mean, that's kind of what it comes down to. If nobody wants to pay to take him off our hands, then our hands are tied at that point anyway.
Well, I mean, I think that at some point that he does have some value. There's somebody that'll pay some amount of money for him.
Mm,
Whether it's what we want is another question.
sure.
But I mean, he would get somewhere on a free transfer. He would get somewhere on $100. Like there, somewhere someone is willing to pay some sort of money. It's whether what we value him at, and it just is. It feels like we as Arsenal tend to pile up these running out the contracts, losing money on these players type of thing. So that would be my only worry. I definitely don't think we should sign him to another contract. I mean, I have a fairly strong opinion on signing over 30-year-olds to any type of contract.
Yeah, I see no reason to extend him at 30 years old. He's not. We're not going to get two more good years out of him. I think it's. I don't know that you're protecting his value too much by adding an additional year as well. Um, he's currently valued at 30 million. I would be hard pressed to see us getting 30 for him.
I mean, I can see it. I mean, it'll be a weird. It's going to be a weird transfer. I don't think there's going to be a lot of money again. I think I've said that before on this program. Uh, but I can see he has some value. He is a proven goal scorer. He was our leading goal scorer. Let's not beat around the bush. He's a proven goal scorer. There are plenty of teams in Europe, and I'm not talking about like the Real Madrids or Barcelona's here, but there's plenty of teams in Europe that will take him. There's plenty of teams in the French league that would take him
Mm-hmm.
for 15 easy.
Right.
It's just how much money do we want to recoup on him versus how much value we think he'll add next year.
Yeah, and I think that just comes down to the the development of Balogun and Martinelli. But when you remove Lacazette from that equation, that position does feel a little thin, especially with um, you know Balogun's kind of unproven at the first team level. Martinelli has not gotten a huge chance to establish himself yet. We see he's another player that has loads of potential, but hasn't found consistent form just because he hasn't had consistent playing time. Um, and then you've got Aubameyang, who's been a little all over the place this last season, and we don't really know what we're going to get out of him in this next season. And I think we have got a gap there. So Lacazette could certainly fill that hole, but I think I wouldn't be sad to sell off Nketiah and Lacazette and go get another player to kind of round out our striker core a little bit more.
Here's a question: would you sell Aubameyang?
That's tough. Only if we could recoup cost. I think that at this point we're in a solid contract with him. I don't think he's got a lot of people clamoring for his signature at the moment, but if the right offer came in, I wouldn't shut it down. at 31, if you could make money off of him, if you could find a way to reinvest that money into younger players, I wouldn't feel too bad about that right now.
I mean, like the interesting thing is like I'm not talking about even recouping his full transfer fee that we even paid for him,
Mm, no.
but if you could get a decent amount of money for him and get those wages, future wages off the books, I don't think it's a bad idea because I just I don't see him getting better.
No.
You know what I mean? And with strikers, it's always a danger. Like when they come fall off the cliff, they usually fall off the cliff hard,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And I saw this last year as if he hasn't fallen off the cliff, he's like hanging on with his little pinky finger on the cliff right now. And I mean, there's all possibility that he can pull himself back up off, but there's a good chance he's falling off the cliff, and we're going to be on the hook for his wages for the next couple of years after that. So
Yeah.
I feel like if there's a very decent offer, I would take it.
Yeah, he's currently valued at 27.5.
That
If
makes sense.
somebody came in with 20, I'd be tempted. But it's hard because it does leave a huge gap. If you were to sell off Lacazette, Nketiah, Aubameyang, that's huge. That would be a lot to replace. I don't know
That'd
if
be
you
a
could at
lot.
that point.
No, I don't know if you could necessarily, but I I mean, it's just like it's that gamble, and it's I guess why I'm not a general manager of how much production are you certain that Aubameyang is going to put in, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that's the thing is like if he's going to be have a bad year again, it's like it's you could sell him, get that money, and invest in more young players, or even put it all those three together and get I don't know what Zaha is going for right now, but
Yeah, I mean, if you could get 60 million out of those three players somehow, or maybe a little 50, we'll call it 50 to be on the error on the Arsenal prices, because they're typically lower than you think. But yeah, like 50 million between the three of them. That's a decent player. That's your Odegaard. Um, but I mean, hopefully you go and find somebody who can produce regularly and get you 15 to 20 goals a season. Um, that's you can't necessarily get that all out of one player. Maybe you go out and get a couple 20-30 million dollar prospects with a lot of potential. Um, so I could see him going a lot of different ways with that, but I don't know if that's an area of priority really for Arsenal right now. I think um, it might become one if the right offers came in, but I think the midfield is probably where they would put a lot of their work as far as recruitment goes at this point.
and that kind of just brings us to one last part of the field that we haven't really talked about much, which is our defense. Do you think that's kind of our lowest priority right now, that we have enough to make it through, or
Seems like we're always being linked to other center backs, even though Saliba is supposedly coming back and fighting for a spot with the team. Um, there's a never-ending parade of center backs that we get linked with. So I don't know if that is rooted in any truth, or if that's like people um, making judgments on how the Saliba situation has gone about, and decided that they can make credible links with Arsenal because there's some cracks in that relationship. Um, but I think the real areas of need would be, I think Bellerin's going to go, so finding a solid first choice right back, or another player to fight for that spot. I don't know in their mind if Bellerin leaves, who the number one player is. Is that a gap in the coach's mind, or is that something they feel they can get by with um, a combination of Cedric and Chambers, or bring back Ainsley, Maitland-Niles and let those three duke it out for the first team spot. I don't know interested Ainsley Maitland-Niles is in that. He's he's still talking about being a midfielder first, and I think he's expecting first team minutes coming back from his loan. So I think he's going to push hard for that. And if he doesn't get it, he's going to want to transfer. So then it comes down to Cedric and Chambers, and is that enough? But maybe they go for somebody who's maybe not as experienced and can kind of work his way up and challenge those other two players. Um, and you have a similar situation with our left back spot. You've got Tierney holding that spot down, but I think you need somebody who can come in and um, not be a significant drop off, which is hard because he is so good. But also find somebody who can maybe push Tierney a little bit. I think it's every position needs some depth that can help push the first team player to not get too comfortable.
Yeah, and I also worry with Tierney that we just play him
Oh,
way too much,
absolutely.
that we rely on him way too much, and the kid needs some rest. He's going to be one of the players at the Euros, and while I don't expect Scotland to go very far, I mean they have a tidy team, and he's going to get more of those minutes for the Euros, and then pop right back into the league, which is coming up faster than you
Mm-hmm.
think. And I want some rotation because I look at Tierney as a long term player, and you need to just give those types of players some rest, or it's just going to burn him out. You know?
Totally. I think you need to we you know the Xhaka experiment was not great. The necessity of having Saka play back there for a couple games um, pulls him out of his more ideal position. And yeah, I don't think Cedric's the answer on that side at all. So we really don't have a true backup for that spot. And I think they'd be um, neglecting an opportunity to shore up that position in the offseason. And it really does just put too much pressure on Tierney. The amount of shuffling we had to do to accommodate Xhaka moving back there. And if we don't have Xhaka, like it's really, there's not a lot of good options.
That is a worry. But I mean, I think we've kind of gone from top to bottom where that is the least of my worries, because at least we have a competent player in that position that I enjoy watching. So
Yeah, I think the other spot that has come up as a potential issue would be the goalkeeping position. And I don't know if that's the um, the coaches not having faith in Leno, or if Leno is pushing for a move, or if the writing's on the wall that Leno maybe not doesn't want to be the long term keeper. I think that there's um, either finding a backup that can push Leno for the time being and maybe take over in a year or two, um, or going out and outright replacing him is a possibility. At least some of the rumors have pointed that direction. I I don't know if it would be an upgrade. It's hard to say. Uh, we were linked to the Ajax keeper, and I'm forgetting his name right now, but he was dealing with a doping ban,
yeah, oh, fun,
and
fun.
so that was driving his price down. But all the tape I saw on him looked really solid. So he was appealing that this last week, and I don't know if there was um, a decision made on that, but he could potentially go for a cut rate price if he's even given a half season ban. It might not be too bad to buy him low and then just ride it out.
I mean, even though with the ban, it's players that come off doping bans. There's kind of two ways it can go. And if the doping was real and they're definitely off of it, they definitely hit a sharp decline. You know, so
Yeah,
it's a risk. I actually don't really understand the chatter of the goalkeeper if it's a replacement, because I say I don't think for the money that we would get for him we could get a better replacement for him. I think he's about at level. He's a second best keeper in Germany. Like, I just can't see getting a better replacement. And I also am not ready to write off Runarsson yet. I know he had one
Hmm.
bad game, and everyone wants to just throw him out the window. And it's funny because how many bad games have, like, Party had, or Aubameyang had, or even Luis had, and people were still okay with, like, them starting. I think there's still potential with Runarsson, and I mean, maybe not as a starter right now, but I think as a backup he has potential. So it's just like, right now it's a kind of a triage situation where we need to prioritize where our money goes, and I just can't see keeper as being the biggest bleeding wound that we need to put the salve of money on.
Let's say if anything's consistent about Arsenal, there's always money spent on a position that I did not think we needed to spend it on. Almost every season. I mean, look at Willian. I was just like, that's not. We have Pepe. Like we do not need this player.
That might go down as one of the worst transfers, not only just because of the performance on the field, but just because we didn't need him, and all of us were saying we didn't need him. He was too old, and he was going to suck up money that we didn't need to suck up.
Yeah, that proved very true. Like that at no point did he ever come close to earning his keep there. Um, let's talk a little bit about a little bit more about the players that we have that could go. I'm just going to go down the list here, and I'm going to read the name. You tell me if you think the player will be an Arsenal player at the start of the next season. All
Okay.
right.
Yep.
So Leno,
Yes.
Runerson,
Probably.
okay, Gabriel,
Yeah.
Rob Holding,
I could see him going.
okay. What about Chambers?
Again, I could see him going.
Okay. Pablo Marie,
Yeah, he'll stay.
uh, Tierney, obviously can stay.
Yeah, he's one
I
of the
don't
dead
even
on.
need to say
Yeah.
that. Bellerin,
He's gone. I think he's out.
Suarez, Cedric Suarez.
I think we keep him.
Okay. Party,
He stays.
Xhaka.
I think he's probably on his way out.
What about El Neni?
I mean, I think he stays unless we get a good deal. I mean, like, that's probably the same,
He,
but
he's on the bubble.
he's on the bubble. Yeah.
Okay. Joe Willock.
Willick. I think he goes.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Um, I'm gonna skip Emil Smith Rowe because it sounds like he's signing an extension here
Yeah.
soon. Um, I think Martinelli's in the same boat. I don't know if I need to read that. Saka, clearly. Pepe, staying. What about Willian?
I think he might be going.
I hope so.
Oh my god, I'll be so mad if he stays. I it just obviously isn't working, and I fear for him if he shows up with the fans in the stadium, because I don't think he's going to get a great reception on the field.
No, no. I saw something today that said one of uh it the Miami DPs was not happy. And I was like, okay, good. Clear out a space for William. That'd be great.
Although Miami is probably not in any position right now to sign DPs, considering they had 5 of them and have a $2 million fine for the
$2
against their
million
cap.
dollars nothing in the Beckham empire.
Well, no,
Probably just eat that.
it's $2 million against the cap too. Like, they took it away, $2 million away from the cap, which is actually significant.
Yeah, that's pretty big. Yeah, well, that William might be lucky to come in a like a TAM.
Yeah, I just like it. It's sometimes with players, and I'm not even feeling that much ill will towards him. I don't think he's a horrible player. I think this whole Arsenal him here thing just didn't work out, and it's best for all of us to just go our separate ways.
He will probably go somewhere else and do just fine.
Exactly.
It's just not for us. What about Reese Nelson?
I mean, we talked a lot about the forwards, but depending on things go, if we keep both Aubameyang and Lacazette, I can think of him being one of the ones to go.
Yeah, I mean, he has not caught a sniff of playing time in general. I think he's been playing for the U23s. Not his value is dropping as we speak. It's not a great place in his career. So I think he absolutely has to figure out how to get playing time. I could see him going on loan if they can't find a suitor, but at 21, he still has the potential to find his form and come back and be a good player. I think he did great when he was at was it Hoffenheim.
Hmm.
Um, so playing time clearly is something that player needs, and I wouldn't be quick to get rid of him because I think he has a lot of potential as a right winger, but um, he's not gonna he's not gonna displace Pepe anytime soon. And if Willian stays, then there's really no place for him.
Yeah, I don't know. I think loan is probably the best place for him, or at least there is a market for him for some of maybe the teams towards the bottom of the Premier League table,
Mm,
that sort of thing. That there might be some willingness to spend some cash on him because he does have talent. He's shown flashes of it. So
absolutely. I think similar to Joe Willock, it all comes down to if they can get first team minutes with Arsenal. I just don't see either one of those players benefiting from coming off the bench too much at this point in their career.
yeah, I mean, I'd love for Newcastle to pick up Joe Wilk. I think it'd be a better situation for everyone involved if we can get the right money. Because
Yeah.
right now, I know Newcastle fans will love Willock.
Yeah, and if we could pull 20 million or 15 to 20 million for Willock, that would be good money spent or a good deal for us
Yeah, unfortunately, the owner of Newcastle isn't really known for spending well or big
at all.
at all.
Um, Lacazette we've kind of talked about a little bit, but where do you think he lands?
I do think at the end of the day, he's probably going to stay.
Okay. Um, Aubameyang
Staying.
and last but not least, Nketiah.
I could see him gone.
Yeah, I think that's another player that could potentially go. He's valued right about the same amount as Joe Willock. So between him, Nelson, and Willock, I think there's potential for all three of them to go if the right price came in.
Yeah. I mean, when I was thinking about this because I knew this question was going to come up even before we had it on the outline, and I was thinking about it in the shower, and I was like, really, we can't afford to be too precious. And I think pretty much everybody but Saka, Pepe, a couple of the people that we didn't even entertain, but most of the players are up for me.
Yeah, there's
That if the price is right, we take it at this point.
yeah, there's three I didn't mention that were out on loan, and that would be Ganduzi.
He's coming back, everything I hear, and
Hmm.
I don't think there's much of a market for him, unfortunately.
I saw something that said Marseille might be interested.
I would take it in a heartbeat. If
Yeah,
we could get rid of him, I'd take it in a heartbeat.
I think that there was talk about. I think the rumor said that we would exercise the option that we have on Ganduzi to extend him to 2 years on his contract and then sell him for a little bit more with that in mind. So if Marseille's into that, I'm all for it. The other midfielder is Torreira. Um,
Unfortunately, I think he's going to stick around. I don't think his loan spell really did much for him. And yeah, I mean, there might be a suitor for him, but
I could see him going out on loan again. Um,
which is a shame because we talked about that position needing like that Jacques replacement, and I thought for a while he might be that replacement,
mhm.
but I don't know. Yeah, I just don't know if he is that player that we thought he was.
Yeah, I don't get the sense that Arteta rates him. I just don't know that he's gonna um, give him the time that he needs to establish himself next to Party. Uh, the other one we kind of mentioned already was Ainsley Maitland-Niles, and I don't know. What do you think? Is he an Arsenal player for the future, or is he gone?
I think he's gone. I think long term he's not going to be sticking around. So the sooner we can get him out, and yeah, I feel like yeah, I mean, he didn't impress that much at West Brom. I wish he would be more open to changing positions because I think that would change a lot of people's valuation of him.
Mm-hmm.
But him being so stubborn about being a midfielder when it maybe not his best position is unfortunate, you know?
Yeah, I feel like if you want playing time, you play wherever the coach puts you. You don't argue. And
Yeah.
I don't know if he's ever going to find what he wants with Arsenal as long as he has this idea in his mind that he needs to be in midfield. I think that's hurting him and his development. Like, why not be the best right back you could be instead, if that's where the
Well,
opportunities are coming?
and that's the thing is like you can make a career out of being that, and then you can also switch positions later if you're proving, if you're on the right, if you're a right back and you're just marauding and doing awesome things, a coach will try you out eventually as a left or as a right winger or as a right midfielder. We see that with Yedlin on the US national team and for the Sounders, that he started as a right back, but really they're starting to position him more as a midfielder because of his pace.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can prove that you have the skills at right back, you're going to get your chances at midfield as well.
Yeah, and I don't think that's ever been part of a strong part of his game, and I don't know that giving him the time there in midfield is going to change that. I think he is the player that he is. I think he might like being in the midfield better, being closer to the action, but I don't think he's a bad right back. Like he's I think the sooner he comes to terms with that, the better for his career. But that I wonder what other teams view him as.
Well, I mean, I imagine what's going to happen is he's going to get to another team with those promises, and then eventually they're going to try and put him back at right back, and he's going to have that same issue.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, I mean, the best performances I remember from him were when he was at right back for the first team, at least.
Yeah,
So I, I don't know. I mean, I mean, all power to him if he's going to stick to his guns, and that's fair enough. But then it's going to change your trajectory.
yeah, quite a bit. All right. Well, I think that's the whole team there. I would imagine we're going to need to sell 3 or 4 players plus loan a couple, so it leaves a lot of holes to fill. If that's the case, uh, I'm hopeful that the lack of rumor is not an indicator that nothing's happening. It's too early to
Well,
say, probably.
it's too early to say. It's a tournament year. Both the World Cup and the Euros really affect prices, and most people just kind of wait till after those. Plus, it's really hard to negotiate contracts when these players are playing for their national teams at these tournaments. They tend to like not want to deal with that side of things.
Yeah, I feel like it goes one
So
of two ways. You've got teams that want to get a lot of their business settled before the Euros, so there's usually a flurry of deals that are done right at the opening of the window, and then other teams will kind of sit back and see who performs well in the Euros and makes their plays based on those performances.
exactly. So I'd be surprised for the next 3-4 weeks to see any major signings. I mean, around the league and especially for Arsenal. So, but I could be wrong. There could be some secrets being bandied
Yeah,
around.
I'm sure there is work being done in the background, but Arsenal are in an interesting position in that we don't have the European football to offer players. So um, it may be that those players need to kind of put themselves out there and see if they can find a spot on a team that's getting into Europe, and then when that doesn't happen, then they kind of will go, okay, well, Arsenal's the next best option. So it might be for us a lot more happens towards the end of the window as things kind of shake out a bit more and players don't get the offers that they thought they were going to.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think it's going to be a nervy window, and I think there's going to be a lot of stuff going on towards the end of it, and last minute will be all. Luckily for us, it doesn't. I think it hits at like 10 o'clock in the morning or something like that. So
Mm,
or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I forget the exact time when it closes on our end, so we don't have to stay up all night.
yeah. How much faith do you have in Edu and Arteta to make things happen based on their limited experience with Arsenal so far?
I mean, if you really want my real opinion, I don't have a lot of faith in Adu.
Mm,
He hasn't so far. He hasn't really proven it. I think he was big on his contacts with agents, which always makes me nervous. I don't think those are necessarily the best signing. I think those are how you get players like Willian. Uh, and I don't think Arteta right now has enough capital to really show that he's a player picker. He's definitely much more, in my mind, a manager as opposed to or a coach more than a
mm-hmm.
manager. Uh, so I mean, confidence wise, I'm a little nervous. In reality, I don't. I there's a lot that Adu has to prove on my end.
Yeah, I think he's had a couple of successes. I think Gabriel's a success. I think getting Odegaard in here was a success. Getting rid of some of the players that he was able to move on was a success. Uh, but he's had some misses as well. I don't think um, anybody in his position nobody has a perfect record. I will say you're going to have some bad signings here and there. Banger had bad signings here and there. He had a good eye, but he had some duds in there as well. You cannot win them all.
Yeah, I do hope that at some point we start reinvesting in our scouting and our data science and things like that. That I know that there's been some movement in that direction after we gutted it, but that's where I'd be more trusting than
Mm-hmm.
Adu himself.
Right. I think if it's a Brazilian player, then we've got a great advantage.
We do have we're starting to get a Brazilian contingent, which I've never seen us as a team that has a Brazilian contingent, and it definitely feels like we have one
Now,
now.
if only we could start playing with some of that fluidity that Brazil is known for.
Well, right now we're kind of playing like the Brazilian national team is playing
Right.
right now.
Yeah.
So,
This is the Brazil in our minds, not on the field.
yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, I think that's a good place to take a break for right now. We've somehow gotten through an hour. I don't know where the time goes, but
I just enjoy talking soccer with you, so I think it
it's
goes
it's
fast for
it's a
me
good
too.
sign. Let's take a quick break, and we've got at least one question. Yeah, we've got one question for you. Of course, we do.
Yeah, that's a fun
Yeah. So
question.
we'll come back and answer that question right after this. All right, welcome back from the break. We've got one question for you this week, which is sad, and we need more. Thank you to Joe Robinson for actually showing up for us this week and getting us a question, but the rest of you, do your job.
It's a slow week. It's hard to have questions. I think a lot of us are also excited about the Euros, which I am definitely excited for the Euros starting because Sweden's going to win the Euros, as we all know.
Oh, yes, of course. Common knowledge.
Common,
They're,
very.
they're going to destroy France.
Oh, so hard. I actually think. I mean, if you want, I think there's a chance they may. And the Sweden team's tidy. They're not to be overlooked.
Okay. All right. I'll watch some. I'll watch some Sweden games, see what's up.
Yeah.
All right. So the rest of you send in questions, but for this week we got one from Joe. What is your favorite slow news day transfer gossip? I seem to recall David Villa or Gonzalo Higuain would be linked with Arsenal every time the newspapers had nothing else to say.
My favorite is always whatever disenfranchised, upset French person or French player is around getting a link. We seem to always get those links to whoever. Like I'm pretty sure at some point there's going to be a Slow News Day link to uh why am I'm totally blanking on his name and I just thought of it. French player playing for Barcelona, Griezmann.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure we're going to get a Griezmann link any moment now because that's just how lazy the back pages in England are. Even though we don't really have the French connection as we used to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was thinking Benzema is the other name that popped into my head is somebody we were seem to pop up regularly as far as links, and yeah, that one sticks out to me. But I feel like there's others that are the transfer gossip tends to leave my brain as soon as like we get to the next window.
It's like I know I've told this story before, but it's why. And I'm sorry for the listeners. I probably should do a better job as a professional podcaster because I'm a professional podcaster.
You're
Uh,
licensed.
I'm licensed in everything. Uh, but I when I was a bit younger, I used to follow like every single transfer rumor, and then
Mm-hmm.
I'd get so excited about a player, and like I'd research all about it, and I was I was following it before the 24-hour news cycle, so it'd be like a player that you would hear somewhere, or like see like in a random link, or when you listen to Arscast or whatever. And I remember that I got so excited about so many players, and they broke my heart that I just it doesn't amuse me anymore. Like
Mm.
I just am like I'd rather wait to get to know the player and to when they have the shirt and the scarf around their neck and the official link on the podcast. So yeah, anymore I don't pay attention to him because it breaks my heart. But I know you like a good transfer rumor.
Yeah, I pay attention to them. It keeps me entertained in the off season, but it's I don't dig into players that much until it like start. It's almost irrefutable that they're coming. And even then, I mean, stuff can go wrong. So it's hard to, like you said, it's hard to get too excited and have your heart broken because it
Well,
happens all too often.
I'm going to start a wicked transfer rumor here,
Oh,
or at
okay.
least
Might
talk
as
about it.
well.
Yeah, we've got a few minutes left on the cast. Would you take Harry Kane?
Oof, no.
He's rumored to be going.
Yeah, but even like he's a dirty player. Even though he's good, he's a dirty player and he's a dirty Tottenham player. So I mean, that's like two major strikes against you. I
Yeah,
can't get by. Like if he was like a good guy that happened to play for Tottenham, I might be okay. Might be okay with it. And that's not just me like saying, oh, all Tottenham players are garbage or assholes or anything like that. You could see what he does on the field, and I just don't appreciate that, and I don't really want that as part of Arsenal.
yeah. No, I mean I hate the player quite a bit, and I totally agree. The thing is, I think it would be the funny for the lulz. It's in the same way that like when we got Sol Campbell from them,
Mm-hmm.
it was funny for the lulz, and it made them so mad. And I think getting their talismanic striker, I don't like him, but it's weighing the amount of dislike I have for him for the amount of anger that it would cause Tottenham fans. Like it'd be good for the Mance.
It would
So
be
there's that.
that.
The amount of chaos that it would cause would make me happy. But at the end of the day, I hope I'd take. I would be ideal if we bought him, didn't play him for about half a season, and then got more money for him on the transfer market. That'd be the ideal.
Yeah. Any way we can rub salt in their wounds would be fantastic. But um, that aside, I don't know if I would take him, knowing what we know about him.
Which is what wicked transfer rumor would you love to start with Arsenal? Would you?
um, I still think if we could make the Mbappe dream come true, I just want to see that storyline come full circle. One of those almosts come back and actually sign for us.
I would take Mbappe is so good. I know it's cliche and we all know it, but he like just watching him play, he turns out to be a good player.
Yeah,
So yeah,
turned out he really was good, and we probably should have
yeah.
pushed harder to sign him back when Wenger was sitting in his living room chatting up his family.
Well, and for me, it would be awesome to at least get him away from that PSG team because the way I think PSG is being a bad influence, especially Neymar on Mbappe, and to
Mm,
get him out of that environment and bring him to the great clubhouse that Arsenal is. That's such a great
right.
environment, but at least better than PSG. I feel.
Sure.
Uh, I think would be helpful for him as a player and make him more likable. So yeah, I like that.
North London is clearly the better place to be than Paris.
Yes, totally.
um, okay, I'm good for this week because we've got a lot more to talk about in future weeks. I hope that we have actual concrete rumors or some great Euros to talk about with the 4 players that are available for Arsenal.
And if you guys want to ask any questions about the Swedish national team, I will, or Swedish club teams, I will talk for hours and hours about both and or either. So please feel free to help us fill in those. Or if you have any questions about Swedish Arsenal players, then where they are now, where they were, where they came from, ask away. I would love to answer.
Yeah, I'm trying to finally read Fever Pitch right now.
Oh, such a good book.
I've picked it up like probably half a dozen times and get a little ways in, put it down, forget what it happened or forget what it said, so I pick it up and start all over again. So every time I say this is going to be the time. It's not that I dislike it. I always just like get distracted by other things.
Yeah. And have you seen the British movie, not the American one with
Not the baseball
Drew
one.
Barrymore, not the baseball one, but the British one that's based on Arsenal?
No, I didn't know there was
And
a
it,
British version.
yeah, and it's Colin Firth is the lead actor.
Huh.
Yeah, it's really good. It comes in and out of distribution in the U.S. Every once in a while, Netflix has it, and then they'll drop it for a while, and they'll pick it up again. So
I'm going to write that down to look that up
yeah,
because I would watch that.
oh, it's so good. It's one of the best. Like I don't know, soccer movies about being an Arsenal fan. Like it totally gets the misery and the joy.
I didn't know I was missing out on that, so that'll be my homework,
Yeah,
as well as actually reading the book. It sounds like
yeah.
I'm like doing a book report and be like, maybe I should just watch the movie instead.
I mean, the book is far better as always because the book is a nonfiction, whereas the movie is based on a nonfiction book, but it's fictional. So
Right. Well, just I knew to avoid the baseball version with Jimmy Fallon.
yes, it's Jimmy Fallon and
Ugh,
Joe Ruber. I've never watched it because I've watched the British version, and then I'm like, that just sounds so
it
bad. And
sounds real
like
bad.
they try and compare it to the Boston Red Sox, and I'm like, yo, no, that's not the comparison. That
No.
is so not the right.
Ugh.
Oh, that could be a fun tidbit sometime is to figure out which baseball team Arsenal is.
I don't know if I know baseball well enough.
Huh, just put it in your hopper. You could show up
To
sometime.
start researching baseball between now and whenever that question comes up.
Exactly. You may have like a week. You may have like several months.
You
We'll
never
see.
know. I just have to brush up on all baseball all the time just to be ready for that
Exactly.
question. Okay, well, let's wrap things up. Thank you all for joining us for this full episode. If you would like to subscribe to this podcast, we are everywhere you want to be. So go to your podcast player of choice, hit that subscribe button, leave a review, and we'd love you forever for that. And it helps us out in getting the word out and letting people know. So if you're a longtime listener, if you're somebody who's sent in questions and interacted with us, do us a favor, go that next step and review and subscribe. Also, don't forget YouTube is another place where we are at, and we would love your subscription there too. If you don't watch our YouTube videos and want to get down on that, just search YouTube for West and North London, and that's the easiest way to find our videos. And
I mean, I've been putting on beard oil now that we've been videotaping or YouTubing our podcast, just to look a little bit better and sharper.
Every video, Tim gets more dapper. So go watch all the other videos so you can see the evolution of Tim's beard and beard oil, his beard accessories.
I'll have to put in a bead or something.
Just a sweet single braid.
Yeah.
I like it. So yeah, watch the video or you'll never know. Tim's not going to say anything about it. He's just going to subtly have just a braid in there. You're going to have to catch it on your own. If you want to send us a question, be like Joe. Everybody needs to be more like Joe, or one of the many people who sends us questions in regularly. If you want to be one of those people, west of North London at gmail.com is a great place to send those. Or Twitter, we are at W of N London. We would love to get your questions at either location, and on Twitter we do occasionally send stuff your direction as well. So if you want to take in things from us and send us things, it's a whole symbiotic relationship.
I mean, I'm still banned from Twitter because I've never reactivated my account. But...
So if you want to be cooler than Tim, you can join Twitter and follow us there. But you won't hear anything from Tim, apparently. If the other way you can send us a message is via our voicemail, and that's anchor.fm/west of North London /message, and we will add your voice message to our next episode and answer any question. Same goes for however you send us questions. It doesn't have to just be Arsenal. We will take recommendations. We will take your rando questions. Send it all our way and see what happens. You never know. If you like the theme song, check out Bobcat. bobc.at is where you can find their website. No Course to Follow is their most recent album, and you can find that and much more right there. I think that is all for this week, and as always,
see you at the next gun show.